So dynamic, amazing, inclusive, clinical, practical, robust. What a great training, what a great panel, what great participants we've had. So we just want to wrap up by sharing some of the feelings that we've had during this process, the relationships that have been developed, and the potential impacts, most of all, of this work. So, Raphael?
Definitely, thank you, David. I will say that, like, for me, this work have been critical in many different ways. To begin, I think that, like, combining the perspective of different sectors, having like Antonio with like a social work background, putting in the table my perspective on public health, putting all your experience related like to the provision of services and organizing in the community and being social leader, and integrating all that into this work have been critical. And I think that like another aspect that have been very impactful for me have been like engaging into a process of doing research in which we are like really being critical and reflexive about like the connection between that research and the needs that people in the community have, and how like in the process of doing that we include those people to participate in doing the research, to participate in the dissemination process, to make sure that like whatever we do is connected with improving the outcomes.
Yes. Yeah. Antonio?
I think for me, being involved in this project has been inspirational. It's community-led, it's community-driven. Those questions are targeted towards addressing those issues that prevent fathers from being holistically involved in their kids' lives. And so, yeah.
What about for you, David? Both Antonio and I, we are like academicians, and you are like our community partner. What is your perspective in engaging into this work?
Yeah. So first of all, I just appreciate these two gentlemen a great deal. For just short of 3 decades, I've been in this work. And this feels like one of the most substantial steps into articulating the needs of fathers and the impact of responsible fatherhood in human services and across these other sectors. It just feels like one giant leap forward in the field, for me at least. And this notion of the academy and community coming together, I feel like I've had, in essence, a translator of some things that I've been saying anecdotally for so long, that this research is helping validate that, and that it is community-led, and the products are community literate. It's like we created a new language together that can be heard by many more. And so I've appreciated the process a great deal. This approach to the solution, it's the enactment of that concept of targeted universalism, that when you get or address an issue with one of the most marginalized populations, that all populations benefit. So while we looked at BILPOC Fathers, this is actually a work that we're doing that is advancing the field of fatherhood and is beneficial to all fathers, and ultimately all families, and most importantly, all children. And that's who we're really doing the work for, and that's what I'm excited about.
Can you talk about like those challenges that we face for doing this kind of work from the perspective of academia, but also from the perspective of community partners?
Well, I know I can speak from community barriers to the barriers and challenges. Adding value to something that was at one time considered invaluable, or not valuable, I should say. Community has not always been considered as valuable at the research level, perhaps at the implementation level, but not at the development level of the research, not at the formation. And there's such a difference in having input as a community member than reflections on the final product. So this is a product we as a community had input as well as had help, were able to influence the products that were going to be more community literate. So you're adding value to community that may not have otherwise been there. And to the barriers, yes, I think anytime we're seeking to change paradigms and approaches that may have been antiquated or it may be even easier for some people, you're going to have resistance. And so I think the resistance is indicative of the power of the work, because what is said, a plane cannot fly or get off the ground and take off without that resistance. And so I actually appreciate the barriers and appreciate the resistance. So.
I think for me, in academia, there's always this push to produce, to publish, get that next grant. But this type of work, this type of community engaged work takes time and building rapport and trust. And I think those are elements that the Academy does not appreciate as much. And so at least from, in academia, I think really trying to drive home this message that this type of work, this type of impactful work, community engaged work, takes time.
Yes. Somebody in one of our panel today say something under the lines of like, we need to be driven by the statistics and by the research, right? And in the back of my head, I was thinking, but wait a minute, like who does those statistics and who does that research that is existing? And in the majority of the cases, there's like significant bias in that research, because in many cases it's done by people that don't represent the communities impacted by that research. And the community doesn't have like anything to say in the process of doing that research, right? So I think that it's important to be critical about that. And something unique about this work that we are doing is that like we are like being very mindful about like who does the research, how the research is being done, and what is the purpose of that research. And I think that like if we as people who are like creating a process for conducting research keep being mindful of that, but also like service providers, all members of society are mindful of that, something really good can happen. What is the impact of this work for this organization? And I wonder like if you can tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So for the Commonwealth Center for Fathers and Families, and for other programs that are associated that work around fatherhood, such as the Lexington Leadership Foundation Fatherhood Initiative. Again, this work adds a level of credibility to what we're doing. It adds a level of legitimacy to what we've been sharing across the community and across the state for a period of time, and that is that fathers certainly want to be engaged, that fathers are a value add to their children, that there are some challenges in practices, policies, procedures, legislation that are counterintuitive to healthy family formation. And this puts the academic stamp on those things that we've been saying from the community. And me being allowed to work alongside with no discernment between the academy and who's in community, co-principals on this, has been invaluable to me and what I've learned from you all, and I hope that I've been some value add in what you've learned. But for an organization, we're now able to say, no, we validated some things through research, validated some things through research that we were actually active in forming. And so for the Commonwealth Center for Fathers and Families, it's a leap ahead.
So Antonio, I know that like we also have questions that are remaining. What is next when it comes to our research, and what are like still questions that we need like to respond in the future?
Well, first, I want to underscore again just the impact that we've made already. In the past, we've always told fathers what they need, right? So now we're actually going to fathers and asking them, what do you need from us? And I think the next step is to use that data to inform our next grant work, our grant activities. They're asking to be heard. They're asking systems to be more father-focused and for the policies to be more father-centric. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? So part of our intention here is that, our hope is that this training will compel providers and advocates and system providers to take action. But that next step is, what is that action? So we would be interested, or I would be interested in learning more about how they use this training to inform how they change their practice. Do they decide to become more father-focused? Will our leaders take steps to develop procedures or practices or policies that are more father-focused, that require their workers to engage fathers, assess for their needs, meet them where they're at, and tailor interventions to their needs and concerns?
Whenever we go out to present this work, we keep reminding people that we want to change policies, practices, and procedures, right? Can you tell a little bit about how is that we are doing that, David?
How we are doing it and how this body of work is doing it and how hopefully this training will do that is you're seeing things that are not, we've shown panels of actual fathers. We've given people access of actual service providers that understand the challenges or have been found guilty unconsciously perpetuating the challenges. So now that those very practical, realistic experiences are gathered in this form and in this training, I think that impact is the potential to impact is folks see it. It's not a fairy tale. It actually is a reality, and we've shown it for you. And it's kind of like the eye in the sky doesn't lie, right? Yeah. It's on film. It's validated, and it's not fabricated.
And I wonder, if you can talk about this creative process in which we are engaging, and all the people that have been part of making sure that this is a reality, including the people behind the camera right now.
That's a great question, Rafael. I think, as I mentioned before, the next question is, what do providers do next? How do fathers go about lifting up other fathers? What we don't know right now is whether all these types of products, the hip hop, the poems, the lectures, the research, the quotes, which of those elements changes or drives behavior change? We don't know that. So empirically, we need to find out whether these products that we've developed actually will lead to some type of change. And I think we're so used to just, lecturing and training, we need to think outside the box in terms of what's going to grab people's attention enough to actually change.
The measurement and impact, I think, will be exponential, first of all. For those individuals that were on the panel, particularly the fathers that have been within these systems that seemingly at times are lopsided, it's already changed them. You've saved some relationships with some of my people because I've been saying for them for years, you're gonna have the chance. Well, you're gonna have the chance to impact. You're gonna get in some spaces where you're gonna be able to talk to the people that make the laws, that feel like they're bashing you over the head. You're gonna have an opportunity to be in a space and your voice be magnified. They've heard me saying that, and others, and this is the realization of that. So that's one piece, and when it's done with the clinical validation and with this level of integrity and with this standard, when people look at it, it's not just going to be an angry black man that is speaking out of some misplaced disgruntledness. It's not going to be an angry or a bitter single father that's just speaking out of some fabricated situation or out of passion. It's not just going to be a provider saying we need to serve fathers more. It's going to add a level of credibility and gravity to what these men and providers may have realized even before now. So I think we've put a little bit of a superhero stamp on the chest of so many by allowing them to participate in us supporting.
Any final thoughts that you haven't been able to articulate that you will want to bring to the table?
I just appreciate both of you and have really enjoyed this collaborative effort. You both bring different perspectives, and it's just nice to see all those perspectives come to fruition.
Likewise, on the pleasure of working on this project, but just really delighted to have had the opportunity to fold some fathers that are striving, that are seeking to move from striving to thriving, and I believe this work is going to seriously empower them to continue in that journey.
And to all of you in the audience, thank you for paying attention to us, for sharing this experience with us. And hey, we want for you to go out and put this work and work with us in improving the life of fathers.
So we hope and we're confident that this has been helpful from whatever sector, wherever you are in Kentucky or beyond. This body of work is designed to lift the father so that we can lift the family, so that communities will be lifted and the human condition overall be improved upon. Thank you to Doctors Garcia, Doctors Figueroa, all the folks that have been part of this. We are truly believing that this is just the beginning of a great work that is going to continue, and we look forward to working with you and seeing your implementation and the impact that you have for families and children across the Commonwealth and beyond.